This was an amazing episode. However, sitting on it, I also think it's also a very strange episode.
Pokemon! 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 Pokemon!
Hello everyone, I'm Dustin Benzel, and welcome to another Pokemon X, Y, and Z anime discussion. Today we're going to talk about the preview for the Noivern episode. We're going to discuss the Binacle episode, and I think that's pretty much it. I'm not really sure if there was any other information. There may have been a summary or something that I'm missing, but we're just going to go ahead and discuss it. Since this is going to be published around the same time as my commentary, you can just go ahead and go there for a lot of the information that I talk about as the episode is happening in sort of a live reaction, but not live since it was recorded a while ago. Also, I want to apologize for not having videos up for a couple of days. I just haven't been feeling good lately for the past few days, and just been like trying to keep it easy, especially since I was very burned out as a result of the forums. So anyway, let's just jump right into this. Let's see. So basically, I'm going to give you a quick summary of the episode, and I'm going to discuss why I think it was also a weird episode. So basically, Clemon is excited. He wants to go to a festival with Zapdos, but then Zapdos appears and is angrily firing thunderbolts. Clemon almost gets crushed. And then, of course, Serena finds a cave. They go in there. They meet up with some guy that scares the crap out of them, basically, in a very humorous scene that you'll see in my commentary of the episode. You'll see my facial reaction to that particular part, and I laugh during that part. And then he explains that he was driving a van to get to the children's center or whatever it was to deliver medicine. He crashed, he broke his leg or something, and he was holed up in a cave. So then, of course, Ash and company are like, oh, yeah, we'll take the medicine for you. We'll just completely abandon you here, and we'll just move on here and stuff or whatever. I'm sure you'll be fine. But, of course, the guy says, everyone's like, well, there's a thunderstorm going out there, so what do we do about it? So, of course, Shane, the character of the day, is like, oh, yeah, there's this rock here in the way, basically, or whatever. And then, of course, Ash sends out Hawlucha to use Karate Chop, and it's really great to see Hawlucha using something that a fighting-type Pokemon should be used for. You know, it's very rarely that we'll get actual fighting Pokemon actually being used for things that they would be good against, like destroying boulders in the way, moving out of the way. I mean, fighting type Pokemon are typically one of the physically strongest of the types out there. I mean, of course, you can say dragon type or something like that, or even steel type or something like that, but fighting is supposed to indicate the prime, raw, brute strength. I mean, you think super strength, superhuman strength, you have to think of fighting types. So it makes sense that fighting types would be used to clear paths and stuff that other types wouldn't be used. Of course, I realize Hawlucha isn't the best fighting type, but it's really nice that it used what it did or whatever. So anyway, at some point or another during this time, I believe, we see Team Rocket. They're in their Ferrothorn mech, not an actual Ferrothorn, but a mech of a Ferrothorn, and Zapdos clearly has the advantage over them. Team Rocket are not going to have a good time or whatever. So then, of course, it goes back to Ash and company. Ash sends out Noibat or whatever, and then he goes through the cave. They get to a part. Well, actually, I think at that point, Zapdos was doing all these electric thunderstorms or whatever, because that's when the cave fell in. Ash and company got separated, so it was just Ash, Hawlucha, Pikachu, and Ash, Pikachu, Hawlucha, and Noibat. So they try to exit the cave. Zapdos is there. at first I was like, well, that's convenient, but as it turns out, it's because Team Rocket were there. So Team Rocket explained that they were trying to capture Zapdos illegally, pretty much. And Ash is like, well, we got we got to do a diplomatic Zapdos or whatever, because Ash has to deliver medicine. So that didn't exactly work out. So Ash sends out Talonflame for a distraction. Talonflame survives one charge beam, then Hawlucha gets into the fight, manages to do a high jump kick. Hawlucha falls. Noibat runs towards Hawlucha, or not runs. Yeah, can you imagine Noibat running along the ground trying to get Hawlucha? That would be hilarious. Someone should do an animation of that, even if it's a horrible animation of it. That would be hilarious. So anyway, Noibat is speeding and flying towards Hawlucha and evolves into Noivern at the time, catches Hawlucha in its talons, basically. I think those are talons anyway that Noivern has. So then, of course, Noivern drops Hawlucha, battles against Zapdos, manages to do a nice boom burst to Zapdos. Then Zapdos is captured by Team Rocket. Noivern takes care of that. And, of course, Zapdos pretty much forgives everybody because he realizes that Ash wasn't the one trying to capture it, because Zapdos was the aggressor in that particular situation. And then they go and deliver Ash delivers the medicine and catches up with Clement and everybody, Serena, Bonnie, and they say something about Nurse Joy. I don't know if it was in relation to Shane or that Nurse Joy actually met up with Shane, and that's how Clement and everybody got delivered to the wherever Ash ended up doing. So of course Ash or Clement, Serena, and Bonnie see that Noibat evolved or whatever, and then of course there's the fireworks and everything, and then Zapdos comes and does its thing, and then the end scene, of course, is Zapdos and Noivern with all the other characters and stuff or whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much the basic episode. There we go. So like I said in the beginning, it was a weird episode, and I don't mean bizarre like the Mirror World episode or even something like that where it's like very weird and strange. I say it's weird and strange in relation to the plot and story. So these are criticisms, but they're not really. They don't really detract from the episode. Like I said, I still think the episode was amazing or whatever. And if I were to give a rating for this particular episode, it'd probably be a 9 out of 10, probably. But the criticisms of the episode is how the story played out and how the episode was hollow. The episode was really hollow. It was amazing for what it was. Like I said, I felt like it had amazing visuals. It was really cool to see Noibat episode or whatever, but the episode was really hollow, and I'll explain why. For one thing, I don't like that Ash separated with the rest of the group. I mean, I felt like that was a missed opportunity. At least Bonnie could have been with Ash, and could have seen Noibat evolving or whatever. And so there was also that. So it was like primarily an Ash episode, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that. It's just that even though it was an Ash episode, it was very light on the Ash focus or whatever. It was like there was all these scenes where it seemed like there was not talking. It was like I mentioned in the commentary that it was like dialogue heavy in the very beginning, but after that it was pretty much not dialogue heavy. I mean, there was Meowth explaining everything or whatever, but it was like there was barely any talking. It was like very quiet episode outside of Pokemon noises and battling and stuff. So it was hollow in that sense. And then the whole Noibat evolving was just a little strange and off-putting, because it's like it was great that it evolved that way, but at the same time, after having watched the episode a couple of times and really seeing it or whatever, it was like kind of disappointing, I mean, I understand that it made perfect sense for Noibat to evolve that way, but I feel like maybe to protect Ash, or at least Noibat was at least struck with an attack and then evolved as a result of that, probably would have been better. Maybe if it wasn't just trying to catch Halucha, so Halucha just didn't splat all over the ground or whatever it was. I feel like that would have made a little bit more, would have made the episode a little bit better if Noibat was a little bit more in that, because Noibat really hadn't gotten any battling focus. The only battling focus, the only battling focus that Noibat ever got was basically against Team Flare's Drapion, and I guess technically B Sharp used Iron Head on it. And then, of course, there's the whole Breloom where it learned the acrobatics, even though it didn't use acrobatics against Breloom. So Noibat really suffered not really doing very much, and that was always one of the criticisms that I had throughout the whole entire thing or whatever. And it got to the point, well, Ash is going to get a Noivern anyway, so let's just do it or whatever. But this episode exemplified why I had a problem with the lack of Noibat focus, because it really was a serious lack. I mean, I have no problem with Noibat evolving technically, outside of I wish Noibat did more things. I wish we got to see Noibat using acrobatics more. I wish we got to see an actual full-fledged battle against Sawyer or against some random character's Weedle or something. At least something where Noibat could get a little bit of focus. And then I feel like, as great as Noivern is on the team, it really is amazing. I mean, the movie trailer really amplifies or exemplifies why Noivern is a really cool Pokemon, as well as this particular episode or whatever. But the problem is Noivern didn't get to do very much in this episode outside of flying all over the place, using like 3 total boom bursts and a low quality acrobatics, in that I'm pretty sure it's not going to be animated that way. They just wanted to cut down the animation. They didn't want Noivern to do what it usually does when it was a Noibat using acrobatics. But I feel like when Noivern actually gets into a real battle, we'll actually see acrobatics as it was meant to be. It's kind of like when P-Dove evolved into Tranquil in 5th generation. We only saw like 13 seconds of Tranquil, and then the episode ended. And I'm still a little miffed about that, especially since it was not used against Bird, by the way. And the next time it was used was against Skyla, which it evolved in that particular gym battle. So, yeah, I was a little peeved that, upset that P-Dove didn't get very much screen time or whatever, and how it relates to Noivern is that I feel like this is probably going to be the only Noivern appearance that we're going to get for a while. I mean, Kenta Miyake, I think, is listed for the Binacle episode for something else, but I don't know if that particular Pokemon gets precedence over Noivern. I don't know if it's actually Inkay or something like that. It's probably something like that, and I don't know if it has precedence. So Noivern could show up next week, or not next week, in a couple of days, this next upcoming Thursday. Noivern could actually show up or whatever, but I feel like it's going to be a while. It's going to be like a couple of weeks we get Noivern, so I feel like there wasn't a lot of Noivern, and that was to be expected. Evolutions tend to do that, but I feel like they should have extended the battle a little bit more. I don't know how they would have done that outside of, I don't know, totally getting rid of Team Rocket during that episode. I mean, they did have an important role within the episode, technically, because they're the one that enraged Zapdos to begin with, or whatever, but it was still very bizarre and odd and out of place. And as you'll see when I talk about the preview for the next episode, not happy at all with what's going on with Team Rocket lately, especially in regards to Jessie, but I'll save that for the preview or whatever. So yeah, so this episode was very hollow and light, and also some other minor criticisms that are in relation to this being hollow episode is Ash wasn't very excited about Noibat evolving. It was like, oh, you evolved. Oh, hey, okay. And the reactions of Serena and Clement and Bonnie in regards to seeing Noivern were also a little lacking. I don't know if this was just a very blah episode, but I do feel like in a lot of instances, this was superior to the Moltres episode. But I felt like there was more energy in the Moltres episode than this episode, in the Zapdos episode. So I feel like the lack of energy and just how mundane this episode kind of appeared to the characters within the show, you know. I mean, we did get Serena like showing some emotion in towards a thing or whatever, but it was like very weird that a lot of the reactions weren't as exciting, you know. I mean, I feel like Team Rocket and Serena and maybe Shane or whatever had like the best reactions out of the episode outside of that collective being scared of Shane for the most part or whatever. And it's like very strange, you know. So I don't know if there was I don't know if everyone was like having an off day or the script was written like just basic, you know, just get to the point. Let's just evolve Noibat. Let's just get that over with or whatever. But it was still strange. Like I said, it doesn't really detract from actually enjoying the episode. But when you watch it repeatedly, you do see the hollowness of the episode, and it's kind of off-putting or whatever, but it still doesn't take away that it was still an amazing episode, as odd and strange as that is, which makes the whole thing even more strange and odd. So anyway, that covers that particular episode. I've talked long enough about that particular episode, so let's move on to the preview. I have some little things that you might see images of within the episode or whatever, but basically what we have here is the next preview episode. To paraphrase the next episode preview is, there's a person named Knuckle, and he's a thief, but what he does is he unlocks something and then walks away, and he doesn't steal anything. If I can get a more proper summary here, maybe a thief calling himself the Mysterious Knuckle shows up at an exhibit of the world's jewels that Ash and his friends were going to visit. However, Knuckle only locks the jewel case before running off. Ash and others don't get what he's up to and starts harboring doubts. So, yeah, it's going to be a very strange episode. And so basically the preview, what we got is we got Knuckle, this mysterious Knuckle, pick-locking a lock with the jewel case, which I'm assuming is what was in that summary that I just read. Then, of course, we see these Binacle heads smacking Clamont and Ash, and then we see these Binacle heads by themselves, or by itself, because it's just one. Team Rocket, and I say screw them here, and I'll explain why. Building on fire, of course, Nurse Joy is there, and a character that was yelling at Binacle on top of Bonnie's head earlier in the episode. And then we get to see what Knuckle looks like without his mask, because I think Knuckle did have a mask that we saw in the images at some point or whatever that were in relation to this particular episode. So I feel like for this episode, that's primarily like 90% going to be filler, and maybe for lucky 10% in relation to Team Flare. I think I'm actually looking forward to this episode a little bit. You know, just to have like a calm episode before we get into the master class tournaments and stuff, and heavy plot focused episode and whatever. So I feel like this is like a nice pause. I definitely would have preferred something completely different, of course, but that's fine. So let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit. So I'm not really expecting anything other than the Knuckle having a purpose for unlocking the display case. Maybe it has something to do with the Binacle heads. Maybe they end up stealing it, because maybe Pokemon can actually steal things without breaking the law, and if you're a trainer that has a Pokemon that steals something, you can technically get away with stealing. I don't know if that's actually the case, but or maybe there's like something within that case. Maybe Team Rocket are in relation to what's going on here. And of course, there's also the weird thing. The weird thing I'm going to say about this, and I'll probably say it next week, probably in more depth, is the Pinnacle heads by themselves, by itself, is very weird. It basically is just like an arm with claws. It's like a claw arm, like cut off almost, like it like a nub, like someone's like nub, how their arm is cut off, and then it's like I guess surgeryed up or fixed up, and you have that like no, it kind of has like that bottom or whatever. So it's like this weird arm thing in its claw. It's got like an eye or whatever and claws, and it's very weird. I don't really like Pokemon that have multiple heads and multiple parts because I feel like if ever a main character were to capture that particular Pokemon, it would be very strange. Even read Barbaricle's Pokedex entries. It has 7 heads, or basically 7 brains, and the arms and legs act independently from each other, but they usually follow the main head's orders, which is very strange. And then we see Barbaricle in the anime with Saizo, I believe, from the Ninja Village, and it seemed to be just fine. It just seemed to be like another Pokemon. So it's very weird to have something like this, and then to have a Pokemon, Binacle, which can be these like 2 floating heads, forgetting about the rock that it was on, is just very weird and bizarre. It's kind of like that's what Diglett probably looks like, you know? It probably just has like maybe like I don't know what Diglett would look like, but you know what I'm saying. So it's just very strange that we're actually seeing Binacle heads in this particular fashion or whatever. So anyway, as I said, Team Rocket, yeah, they can just screw off basically, and I'm not happy at all with this. And the reason why is because again, they're going to be in the main plot of the episode. No, Jessie's not going to get her princess key, and that infuriates me because Jessie is basically confirmed to be in the Master Showcase because of Pokemon Fan, and that video is like I already uploaded it or whatever, and Jessie said that Jessie was going to be a rival for Serena, and of course that implied that Jessie was going to be in Masterclass. So are you telling me that the animators or the writers, from the point that Serena got her final princess key, you could have not shoved a few scenes of Jessie winning her princess keys so she has all 3? Are you telling me that there's either going to be a couple of possibilities here? 1, Jessie steals the other 2 keys from some random person that was going to be in Masterclass and gets disqualified or something like that. Or she's just going to magically reproduce 2 princess keys that she apparently got off screen. I'm pretty sure there's not going to be very much time in Masterclass to have Jessie flashbacking to episodes where we probably should have already seen. All we really needed, and I really hope the anime writers or producers actually watching this, or at least the Pokemon Company International, the least you could have done is just a still screenshot of Jessie being like, I've won another key, woohoo, go on Jessie. And this could have happened at least one time, at least show it once, indicating that she is going to showcases that Serena aren't involved in. But somehow, from the time that Serena got her Frey City Princess key, the Ferris wheel key, to Master Class, we did not see Jessie at all in Pokemon Showcase. The last showcase that we saw Jessie in was, of course, Kuriway Town, and that's the only princess key that we actually saw her win on screen. So I have a huge problem with this, and it's come to the point where Jessie was better off not getting that princess key, because I believe Ninny was also in that episode, and I know a lot of people don't like Ninny, but she could have gotten the key, and that would have been a far more acceptable than random Jessie, who probably shouldn't be in Masterclass anyway, because it's not like the writers actually bothered. I mean, come on. At least in 4th generation, when Jessie got her ribbons to be in the grand festival, at least you showed her getting all 5 ribbons, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, the 5th ribbon was a gift from Princess Salvia or whatever. but that's kind of the point. Granted, the last ribbon that Jessie needed was given to her by Princess Salvia, but that seemed to be okay. And see, that's the problem. I mean, we saw the other four ribbons, if I'm not mistaken. So, well, I mean, of course, one of them was James, but Jessie won the Solaceon contest. She won the Majolieka Town contest. She also won Lily Pad Town with James as disguised. Then she won the Neighborly Town contest. And of course, Salvia won the Arrowroot Town, but gave the the ribbon to Jessie so that she could participate in the Pokemon Grand Festival. So, it's like you went all that way and put that much effort. And the fourth ribbon that Jessie won, the last one, the one where Johanna actually judged, it was just a small scene and Jessie won while Dawn and everyone else was like teaching this particular class, after I think Grottle evolved. I think it was like a couple of episodes later, and Dawn was like doing something with Ice Chandelier or something like that, I believe. And so you're telling me that you put that much effort into Jessie getting these particular ribbons, but you're only going to show one princess key and she's just going to magically appear. That's a little disappointing and a little bit of pretty difficult to accept. So anyway, I think that's pretty much all I'm going to say about the Binacle episode. Right. One other thing. Team Flare are going to be in the episode, but I don't know how much of the episode is going to be revolved around Team Flare. And there is something that I wanted to bring up a little bit, and of course that's in the there was this calendar. I don't know if I have an image of it because it was a long time ago, and it may have been on another one of my laptops before I had all these technical issues or whatever. But there was this like calendar type thing that showed the months and the interest Pokemon of the thing. So like Ash Greninja was for like December or something like that, and Sylveon was technically for February. And, and that wasn't necessarily wrong because Sylveon did actually show up in February. And one of the things that they said was Zygarde Complete was going to show up in a March episode. Now, granted, I'm pretty sure that the last two remaining episodes of March that involved Masterclass are not going to have Zygarde Complete, but maybe this Binacle episode will have Zygarde Complete in it. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not going to make any sense because Puny-chan is with Bonnie, and this obviously isn't a Team Flare episode, so of course it's not going to become Zygarde Complete in this particular episode, but that doesn't mean it's not going to show up. I feel like, well, well, duh, Dustin, of course, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that Xerosic, who is actually confirmed in the... Whoa, hold on. Xerosic is confirmed to be in the episode, and I feel like he's going to explain Zygarde Complete. There's going to be like an image of Zygarde Complete possibly within this episode. If not, maybe it'll be like the couple of episodes in April because like I said before in another video, I believe, March 31st is going to be a break. So there's not going to be any particular episode in that particular thing or whatever. So it could be the Bunnery episode. It might be other whatever. But if the calendar type thing, it's not really calendar, but it's a list of important months in regards to the X, Y, and Z series. If it's accurate, I think we'll at least get an image of Zygarde Complete in this Binacle episode. Maybe. Or maybe they just were off and actually we're going to get a very heavy Team Flare episode focus in April, and they weren't sure it was going to show up. But the thing is, Eevee did evolve in the January episode, the last January episode, but it did show up in a February episode. Like, I think Phrase City was in a February episode, and Sylveon was in that episode, so I think that's what the Sylveon was. So I feel like maybe we can at least get an image of Zygarde Complete. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say Of course, after that masterclass begins, a maiden's fight where sparks fly will be March 17th. March 24th, of course, will be Arya versus Serena, Open the Door to the Future. And of course, it'll be the Baneri episode, which we still don't have very much information outside of data broadcast. So I don't think there's anything else. There may have been a summary that I missed or something like that. There was something else I was going to talk about, but I think I've already discussed everything in other videos or whatever. So, yep, that pretty much covers this particular episode. Review at this particular moment or whatever. So anyway, expect trailer discussion for the Magirna and Volcanion episode, and I'll talk about that. And of course, I have Pokemon Sun and Moon anime episode to do, and I think that's pretty much it. And my review for the Binacle episode when it comes out. So anyway, thank you for watching. I'm Dustin Benzel, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.